Okay, now that we have our menu item and our shop page, what we're gonna build is our header. We need an easier way to navigate between our pages, and we wanna build this component in such a way so that it's always present, no matter what page we navigate to. Now, we wanna do it in such a way that we don't have to put header on every single page component that we have, but that's really easy with React Router DOM. Now, before I show you that, let's just build the header component. Now let's go back to our application and let's create a header component. And in our header component, we are going to have the usual suspects. We need a header component.jsx and a header styles.sass. And in our header component, we're going to import React from React. And we're going to import our style sheet in. Now, our header component is going to be a functional component. And it's going to have a div that contains our header code. And this code is going to resemble pretty much exactly what we see. So it's just going to be an outer container, this group of option links that we have over here that will be contained in that group option link container, and then a logo. So what we're going to add here is a class name of header. And then we are going to create our logo. So our logo will link to the home page when you click it. And the way we do that is we import in link from React Router DOM. And then we will just put link in with the 2 pointing to our homepage route. And we do want to use our actual icon, but I've provided that for us in the format of an SVG. And SVG icons are essentially scalable vector graphics, which are really small, really performant, but look the same no matter how large or how small that image is expanded. And that's really great. And I have that for us right here. So you can just copy it from the file that I've provided in this lesson. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new folder in our source called assets. And in it, we are just going to paste. Okay. And you'll see a bunch of code that actually represents the crown SVG. But in our header, we're just going to import this into our component. And we're going to import from assets/crown SVG. And what we're going to write is React component as logo. Because it's not a JSX file, we don't actually set the import. We're just importing in this SVG as this React component keyword, but we're setting it to the logo keyword. And by doing this, we are now able to place it right here. And we can also give it the class name of logo. And our class name for our link will be logo container, because we want that container to have some style on it as well. Now, our options will be held in their own individual options container, and they will also be links. And they will point to our shop and have the class name. And inside, this first one will be our shop. And then our second one will be contact. And then we just export it out. And we just bring this into our app.js. Now, once we import this in, components header component, all we have to do is just place this header outside of the switch and the routes that contain all of our page components. Because by doing this, our header is always present and rendered despite whatever React Router DOM switch component and route components decide to render onto the page. And this is really great because if we had, say, pop-ups or overlays or footers that we were always wanting to display in our application, or at least be on the page, regardless of what path the user is on, we would just do it like this. And this is really, really awesome because this makes our app very intuitive. It looks very composable because we know all of our pages exist here and our header exists outside of this switch. Okay, now if we go to our application, we'll see that we have what looks like the header, just no styling yet. So let's write the styles. Now, I do have them actually written already. Our header, which is the containing div, has a width of 100% and a height of 70 pixels. We set a display flex so that when we put justify content space between, the children inside of this parent, so our logo container and the options, will be pushed apart as far as possible with any remaining space that they themselves don't take up as far as the width is concerned. So there's a margin bottom that pushes our pages 25 pixels down from anything below the header. And then our logo container just has a width of 70 pixels, whereas our options has a width of 50%. So it always takes up 50% of whatever width the header is. And they align everything centered. And they're always on the flex end. So justify content flex end means that we want to always set them so that they are on the most right side of the component. So they're on the end of the actual flex box. And then our options have some minor padding so that they are not so grouped together. And now if we look at our code, we see that our crown takes us to the home, our shop takes us to the shop, and we have a very basic version of our header setup. We haven't added the contact page yet, but we will do that at the very end. What we should do though is we should modify our link tags that we use as our options to not have this underline or this purple color that comes with an A tag. Now, even though it's a link component, if we inspect it, we see that what gets rendered is this A tag, right? This native A tag. So we know that React Router DOM actually modifies the A tag and then gives it the functionality inside of itself to do the behavior. So in order to do that, we have to actually modify our app.sass, and we can do this right here by setting text decoration to none and the color to black. We could just target selectively the link itself inside of our header component by targeting, say, anything with a class name of option, but we want it so that none of our A tags actually have this text decoration because we will probably never use a native A tag. So if we save, we will see that it is now updated. Okay, now the last thing we need to do is just commit our code before we finish styling our header, because in the next section, we will be including our sign-in page and our sign-in button. So let's go back to our terminal. Let's see what we have. So we'll just add our code, adding header component and links to home, the shop page, and then we'll just get origin master. Okay, now let's build that sign-in.